Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our inspirational interviews. I'm Hannah from Heartfelt Wellbeing, and I'm really excited to have our interviewee on today, my friend Whitney Natiello. And she is, oh my gosh, full of amazing knowledge. She has been a Chinese medicine practitioner for a long time, an acupuncturist, and has gotten really into studying the brain and German new medicine as well. And I enjoy having lots of conversations with her. I learned so much, and I'm really excited to share her with you today. Couple reminders as we're starting here. Please give StreamYard permission so we can see your name. And we invite you to participate in this conversation. So if you are live, you're welcome to write in the chat and we can incorporate your questions and comments into the conversation. And if you're watching this on replay, you can let us know that too. And feel free to type in questions and those can be looked at after the fact. So, without further ado, I'm really excited to share Whitney. Hello.
Hello, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome to our inspirational interviews. And so, I'd like to just start with asking you to share a little bit about who you are.
Well, great. Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm thrilled. Um,
Mm.
my background is I've been an acupuncturist, Chinese medicine practitioner for 21 years. I also had a wellness center in Black Mountain, North Carolina, near Asheville for 14 years. And we had 14 practitioners and had over 35 modalities that we offered to the community. So I have been in the alternative complementary healthcare field for a while. And along that time, my daughter was struggling. She had post-traumatic stress. And due to my first husband, her dad dying at the age of 5. And I knew that things had changed in her brain, and I had taken her to counseling. And for 13 years, she really struggled. We tried to figure out what we could do. And I had a plethora of alternative complementary medicine at my fingertips. And we used everything that I could get my hands on for 13 years, and everything seemed to just help a little bit, but nothing really helped her. And what we found was I actually heard or saw a clip of Dr. Daniel Amen, who is a Western trained psychiatrist. And he said on this clip that I listened to is, how can you possibly treat the brain if you don't look at it? Every other specialty in Western medicine, they look at the organ before they treat it. If you're going into a cardiologist or into a pulmonologist, they're going to look first to see what's happening in the organ, and then they're going to prescribe treatment. And in Western medicine, they don't do that for the brain, which is so crazy because the brain is the single most complicated organ in the entire universe that humans know about.
Mm.
And so when I heard that, I actually took my daughter down for some brain scans to Atlanta, and we were able to actually turn her brain on. She went from she had a 17% score on her PSATs as a sophomore in high school. We thought that she would not graduate high school. And after 2 weeks on the Amen protocol, she took her SATs and she went up to a 74%.
Wow.
So that was that life-changing moment where I thought, oh my God, what are these people doing? Like, how do they know, and why is not everybody talking about this? What do they know? So I took a month off and became one of their brain health coach professionals. And so now I integrate the neuroscience with Chinese medicine and German new medicine, and just help people optimize their brain. So
Yeah. Yeah, it seems so interesting. Like what you just said about we don't look at, or Western medicine doesn't look at the
Mhm.
brain. And it seems to me like the brain has kind of been like pushed aside as like this
Mhm.
organ, if we want to call it an organ, but
Mhm.
that is like impossible to understand.
Right.
Like,
I mean, we still, I mean, what we know is still,
yeah.
like, a grain of sand. But what we now know in the last 5 to 7, years or so, is that, you've heard of, we don't use a lot of our brain. We only use 10% of our brain and all of that. That's not really true. That's not
Mm,
a true statement. Really, what we're looking at with the training that I've had is the blood flow in the brain. So
mm,
doing things like yoga and tai chi and qigong is actually moving the blood in the brain to access those different parts of the brain. When you
mm,
have more blood flow, that's why exercise is crucial in brain health. When you have more blood flow, you have more access to different parts of your brain. When you eat really healthy foods like Ayurveda teaches you and Chinese medicine teaches you, you have more nutrients to have more access to your brain. When you have things like post traumatic stress, that actually changes the way that your brain operates. So that
mm,
can be a change in mood. It can be a change in learning abilities, which it was for my daughter. She basically had no short term memory. So anything that she was
mm,
trying to learn was not, she didn't have the ability to absorb it. And this is the thing, her brain was protecting her. She had this trauma where she lost her father. And so her brain said, okay, in order for us to survive, we're going to shut down short term memory so that you don't have to relive these painful memories.
mm,
And so the brain was doing this beautiful, awesome survival thing, but it interfered with her ability to keep up with her peers, to learn anything, whether it be music or academics or a sport or read a
mm.
story or watch a movie. Like it affected her in all these different areas. So, you want, I mean, I have such humble respect for the brain because it's smarter than anything else that we know on the planet. I mean, it is an expression of nature's intelligence.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that there's reasons why it may be not operating properly, and we can
Right.
do many things everything that we choose, everything we eat, we think, we decide on, every behavior, every mood that we're in, every relationship that we're in, everything that we choose actually has the ability to age our brain forward or to actually deaccelerate aging. So you can actually, no matter what age you are, you can actually deaccelerate the aging process, which
Wow.
is so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not
Oh my
stuck with the
goodness.
brain that you have. Like
Yeah.
during menopause, you have memory issues, not stuck with the brain you have. Like whatever it is.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And so my brain is going in multiple directions from everything you just shared. But one of the pieces that seems really clear is, so from like a Western perspective, when we look at something not functioning well in the body, we say, how do we like do something that changes it? Whereas in the more Eastern traditions, we look upstream, kind of like
Mhm. Right.
what's the root of that
Mhm.
caused this downstream thing to happen, and we
Right.
want to go upstream and look at that. And so it sounds like from what you're saying that this is that bit of an upstream perspective of saying like there's things that have happened, and again we're looking at trauma, which has so much, and all of us have experienced
Mhm.
trauma, big and little,
Mhm.
but it's how we have integrated it or interpreted it in
Mhm.
our own systems that then relates to how it manifests,
Right.
right? And
Absolutely.
in
Mhm.
our bodies and in our minds and in our spirits.
Mhm.
So I'm sure everybody who's watching right now is curious, like, how do we change our brains?
Right. So I think sleep is number one. We've got to have good sleep. That is the single only time that the brain will call it a goes through a washing and rinsing cycle.
Uh-huh.
So if we're not sleeping, then our memories from that day, whether it be a memory or a learning or whatever it is, our memories from that day will not get translated into long-term memory. It won't go into long-term storage. So sleep is really crucial. So we've got to figure that piece out. Eating healthy, warming, whole, organic, if possible, clean foods, many colors, all the colors of the rainbow at each meal at possible. Being able to eat that way, and then and really the exercise. And so everything that you do and teach in Ayurvedic, following that is going to increase your brain power and
Mm.
optimize it. The other thing is that I think that's really important, that most of us need extra fish oil.
Mhm.
And when I first graduated a long time ago in 2000, um, I was really like, people just need to get their nutrients from the food, and that should be enough. And I was just kind of like, no, I don't want to give my clients supplements. They don't need something else to digest. But I have come to realize that our soil is, it's not as good as it was, and we really do need that supplementation. So omegas, 3, 6, and 9s are really, really important, because the brain is 60% fat and
Yeah.
it needs good fat. And especially people who are on cholesterol medication, that is reducing the fat and reducing the optimization in their brain. So that is a really fine line that you've got to balance. There's when women are on birth control, that actually depletes a lot of the minerals that the brain needs. So there's a lot of different things that you can do depending on what medications you're on, or what you're taking, that you would add in supplement wise. So omega-3s, vitamin D is crucial for the brain, and your B complexes. So I really look at like a overall the thing. And I do not work for the Amen Clinic. I do not work for Brain Health MD. I don't get anything for this. What I'm saying is, I used to carry 17 product lines of Chinese supplements, Chinese herbs and supplements. And what I have found is the Brain MD line of, they have a brain and body power that
Mm.
has omega-3s, that has brain nutrients that are really specific to the brain, and a multivitamin, multimineral. And I like that. They also have a brain and body power max. And
Mm.
that formula is really good if there's been any concussions or things like that.
Mm.
It's kind of an extra boost. That's what they did. They did an NFL study on that particular
Oh,
formula,
wow.
and was helping the NFL players regain brain function after multiple concussions.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah. So it goes back to the basics of like eat well, sleep well, move your body,
all the free
breathe.
things, all the
Right.
free things, right? Those are all free. You just have to know what to do, right? So
Right.
that's why, people work with you, is so that they figure out what
Right.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I want to particular I mean, I think this is something that ends up being connected to exercise or movement, but that breathing is so key. Yeah, like
Absolutely.
oxygenating our brains, right? And so many people are shallow breathers or mouth breathers,
Right.
and we're not actually getting the circulation, the stimulation, the oxygenation going to, well, any part of our bodies, but especially the brain.
Yes.
It's
And
key.
and I will say, thank you so much for bringing that up. So the oxygenation is crucial. So our brain is typically like 2 to 3 pounds in a person, which is about 2 to 3% of your body weight. And it consumes 20 to 30, just that organ, 2% of your body weight consumes 20 to 30% of all of your calories. So when you look at your plate and you say, okay, 20 to 30, a third of my plate is going to my brain. What would I like to put into my brain? What kind of fuel would I like to put in? Like all the colors, cooked, all of that. And then the other thing to think about is if you have snoring, if there's any potential that somebody has sleep apnea, that is actually killing brain cells on a minute to minute basis while they are sleeping. And you have to get a sleep study ASAP on that. Check your oxygen at night. You can get an oximeter from your doctor, or you can get it at the drugstore, and make sure that you are getting oxygen to your brain at night. Because if you are not, and it's trying to repair from the day, and it's trying to put memories from short term to long term, it's not going to happen. And when you have sleep apnea, it's kind of like having mini heart attacks, very small heart attacks throughout the night, every single night. Like,
wow.
That is not, if you're snoring, you have to figure out, in Chinese medicine, we would say there's probably a phlegm going on. There's a lot of dampness in your body. You've got to figure out the root of what is causing the snoring and potential sleep apnea, because that is one thing that'll really negatively impact your brain.
So I have several clients who have sleep apnea and they use the breathing machine. So that
Yes.
takes care of that. Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah.
And you want to get it soon. You don't want to be like, oh, well, I'll do it next year. Or, like every night, every minute of every night that you do that, you're losing brain cells. So,
yeah. So we want to preserve our brain cells. And so in terms of kind of reinvigorating parts of our brains that maybe we aren't using, I'm suspecting there's other things, and maybe that goes into more individualized techniques, but are there things to kind of optimize once we're eating well and sleeping well and
right. Yes, good, excellent question.
moving?
Thank you. So one of the best things to do is actually to get out of your habits.
No, don't say that to my
I'm gonna put it with a caveat.
Okay.
Like, keep your habits on sleep and digestion and eating and meditating and yoga and movement and all of that.
Good. Okay.
And when you're cooking, when you're walking through your house, when you're brushing your teeth, like do the opposite of what you normally do. Switch up your hand when you're brushing your teeth. Wash your hair with your other hand. Instead of brushing your teeth and getting into the shower, get into the shower and then brush your teeth. Make your brain work. So if you typically go through the living room to get to the kitchen and there's another room you can go through, or another hallway, or up or down the stairs, go the other way to get to the kitchen. If there's when you're driving, instead of just getting in and going the same route, take a different route and make your brain work. Because when it's working, you're going to be building new pathways. And that's the beauty of the brain, is it becomes optimal that way. So if you skip rope and you always lead with your left foot, lead with your right. If you are making eggs in the kitchen and you typically get the eggs out and then the butter, get the butter out and then the eggs. Make your brain work.
Yeah. So that seems to kind of just speaks to mindfulness too, like to notice things and what can change, or how things looked. I mean, I think about just, paying attention to like how nature's changing each day, or these little, instead of being on autopilot, which is really what you're talking about, is to go off of autopilot and to really notice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like changing up which side of the bed you sleep on.
Mm,
If you have a two-car garage, ask your partner to switch. So you have to think differently when you come into the garage, because you're gonna be like, oh my God, this feels really strange and hard. If you can travel to a different country and drive on the other side of the road, do that. Like really get your brain working.
yeah.
What people always say to me, like, oh, I do crossword puzzles and I do Sudoku and I do these things to keep my brain sharp. And that's great. But guess what? If you're really good at that,
Mm,
it's not building new pathways. You want to do
mhm,
other types of puzzles like that you have not done before. If you do a lot of word stuff, do a lot of number stuff, or vice versa.
mm,
So
mm.
doing the same thing that you're really good at, you don't want to do that. Whatever, like the bottom line is, whatever you suck at, that's what you want to do.
Me
Like
too.
if you suck at dancing, like I do, I take dance lessons because that gets my brain working in a different way. If I mean, that's, if yoga's really hard for you, you want to do that.
Yeah,
And you
that's
want to
great.
do it just to get your brain working.
Yeah.
So,
That's so, like, counterintuitive to I feel like so many of us, and also,
mhm,
like, how kids are being raised these days is, like, what are their aptitudes? And,
mhm.
there's a lot of aversion to doing things that you're not good at. It's like, "Well, I'm not
Right,
good at that, so I'm not gonna do it." And
right,
yeah,
right.
like,
And
here's a
that's
reason to do it.
Well, and especially when you're young,
Mhm,
when you're a kid, that's why it's really important is that you give them so many different options. And people are like, oh well, they got to play soccer for 7 years in a row. No,
mm,
play soccer for one semester and then play basketball and then go
mhm,
swimming and then and just really get all of the different ways that your body and your brain can work and move together.
mm.
So
I
like
like that so much.
keep your keys in the same spot so you can find them, right?
Right.
Like I'm not saying move that, but like everything else.
Right. There are some things to
Right.
keep life running in a more sane way. Um, I really like that as a multi-passionate person,
Mhm.
like I love like music and art and healing and cooking, all these things. Um, and dance and yoga, I love what you're saying. I feel like I've been told my whole life, like, choose one thing, and I've resisted. Like, no, I'm gonna be exploring all of these things till
Yes,
I die, and it's so fun. Um,
absolutely.
so yeah, that's fabulous. So you sent me this brain quiz that I took. Can you tell us a little bit, because we're gonna share this with you all here, and Whitney's coming back next week, and she's going to share with us what we can glean from this quiz. So this is the first time I'm giving you all watchers of inspirational interviews a homework assignment. So tell us a little bit about what we can learn from this brain quiz.
So this is a brain health assessment that takes about 10 to 15 minutes. It's free. You just have to put in your email. Um, and it is what Dr. Daniel Amen over 30 years has you can't boil down 30 years into a little 10-minute quiz. However, he has put a lot into this, and you can tell a lot about a person's brain by looking at this. So you're going to look at mood, behavior, learning, sleep, executive function. You're going to look at your sense of well-being, all of those things. And what I would recommend for this is that you take the quiz and you have somebody you love who knows you well and have them take the quiz about you as well. And you can do it for them as well. It's free. You can take it. You just need a different email when if you're doing it a couple times. So the purpose of this, what I really appreciate what Dr. Amen has done is he has given this to the world to say, these are the basic fundamentals that your brain type needs. And so there's 16 different brain types of
Mm.
how the blood is flowing in your brain. So it will, with the 16 brain types, it shows if blood is flowing, if it's too much in one area of the brain, if it's too little, or if it's normal. And so when you look at the mixture of the 16 brain types, there's, of course, benefits and beautiful things about all of them. There's not one brain type that is better than another brain type. What it means is that you do things better in different ways than other people do. And that's the beauty of our individuality. And so what it is about, he gives you 7 pages of a PDF that says, this is the type of fish oil you need. Remember to get your vitamin D. And then if you are missing any precursors to neurotransmitters, it will show up on there and he will suggest different supplements.
Hmm.
So it's a really great overall health quiz. And if you've had multiple concussions, if you have a lot of PTSD, if you have, a lot of trauma and things like that, you may need to work one-on-one with somebody. But really, for the most part, it gives you a good idea and a good starting point. So, and he'll give you the why, he'll give you what to eat, he'll give you do higher protein, higher carbs for your brain type, and that kind of thing. So it's a really great tool, and I think everybody should. I mean, it's free.
Yeah, take advantage of it. Great. So we'll bring Whitney back next week. And just in wrapping up this session, can you tie in the what you've been able to see with incorporating what you've learned about this modern brain wisdom or
Mhm.
science into what you practice with Chinese medicine and acupuncture?
Yeah. So basically, what I found was that when people were learning about Ayurvedic or Chinese medicine, or learning a different lifestyle to optimize their health, if they were having difficulty enacting the lifestyle changes, then I look at the brain and go, okay, where's the brain stuck? Because if the brain is not operating fully, you may have challenges enacting the lifestyle changes.
Mm.
So we can talk about, like, hey, quit smoking. It's
Right.
not good for you. But if your brain is addicted to it and that's the hyper area in your brain, you can't quit until your brain is taken care of. So,
Yeah.
um, so what I find is that the wisdom of these ancient traditions that you and I practice, that is the wisdom on lifestyle and how to live. Western medicine does not have that. The
Mhm.
wisdom is here in the ancient traditions. Thousands of years, billions of people, over half the world's population practicing, they have figured things out. Um, and when we can't actually put those into our daily practice, then we need to pull in the neuroscience of the brain and figure out what is blocking us to be able to
Mm.
then be able to say, okay, I can now live this lifestyle to fulfill me fully, from a health
Mhm.
perspective. So I don't see it. I see it very melded together. You can't. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody's got a brain, you know, and
Right.
our brains and our experiences all make a different, um, ability to live healthy lifestyles. There's people out there who are sick, who need help, and their brain may be stuck. They know the things to do, but they literally cannot do them. They are incapable of doing them. And you have to treat the brain in order to get them through that.
Mm. Yeah, that's so powerful and exciting. Well, I could keep asking you questions all afternoon long, but we're going to stop here and we'll have you back again next week. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
sharing with us today, and we'll see what folks have to say after taking these quizzes next week.
And I would
So, and how
say,
can
I'm sorry. I
go
would
ahead.
just I would just invite people to write in their questions, and we'll take a look at them, and I will try to answer them next time. If not in writing, then on Facebook, then I will verbally.
Great. Yeah. Whitney's in this group, so feel free to
Mhm.
type your questions in with this interview and she'll get to see them. And where can people find you if they're interested in learning more about what you do?
So my website is brainwiseacupuncturist.com, and
We can post that here.
we'll post that. It's a long one. And the way that I work, I actually teach practitioners the neuroscience piece for them to integrate into their complementary alternative medicine practices. So that's my main gig. And then I do take some clients in helping to optimize their brain. And so if you look on my website, there's an Optimize Your Brain coaching program that's just 5 sessions long. So
Great. So check it out, everyone, and we'll have you back next week and learn more about optimizing our brains. Thank you so much, Whitney.
thank you, Hannah. I appreciate you.
Yay. Bye.